What is up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Got a great show for you tonight on Humpday Happy Hour. We're going to be talking cold weather radio. We got Scout 75. Looking really forward to talking to him. And we're going to have a great show. A couple shout outs. I see Covain out there, Plasma Storm, John Hummel, Jeff Robinson, William Collins. Who else we got? Pat. Got a great crew. If you have not subscribed already, shame on you. Make sure and do that and smash that bell notification and the like button as well. Follow us on all social media. And if you want to get really interactive and get really involved with the Ham Radio Adventure Guy, check out the Patreon. I do daily updates on there for everybody, and they get a lot of advantages and see early clips and everything. So check them out, and I would appreciate it. All right, I ain't going to keep him waiting. I'm going to bring him out. What's up, Scout?
Not much. Just hanging out. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good.
Oh, real excited to have you on the channel. I've seen you on several live streams. I watch your show all the time and stuff like that, but haven't never really got to sit and pick your brain. And I was telling you, before the show, I started POTA last March the 20th of 2021 was the first time I ever activated POTA. So I've never really had any outdoor cold ham radio experience other than, the last couple of weeks, the activations I've been doing. And,
Sure.
Depending on what part of the country you're in, some people ain't having it cold. But we've been in the 30s here the last couple of weeks. What's up, Brian? And, I get off work and it's pretty much dark at 5 o'clock anymore. So I've had a little bit, but nothing major. But before we get that started, just in case somebody in my channel doesn't know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are and what got you into ham radio.
Sure. My name is Shane. Go by Scout 75 on YouTube. I live in northern Wisconsin, out in the woods, basically. Like the outdoors. I do a lot of backpacking, all that kind of stuff. Got into ham radio a few years ago, and I've really fallen in love with and got really passionate with portable operations, doing parks on the air, summits on the air, especially. So I tend to incorporate the ham radio into my backpacking and hiking, and I like to do the hike and activations for both summits on the air and parks on the air. Although I will operate from the bench and from the vehicle as well. I think that's one of the beautiful things about parks on the air, especially around here where I have very large wildlife areas and state parks. You have all the options for operating portable radio that you want. You want to operate out of your vehicle, you can do that. You want to carry your base station to a picnic table, you can do that. You want to go off on a trail on a little QRP kit, you can do that, and everything in between. So it's endless opportunities. And of course, here in Wisconsin, if I wait for perfect weather, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of operating. Winter's long here, so I just have to adapt and learn how to play in the cold as well.
Roger that. And you're right. Parks on the air, there's many ways to do it. I prefer to get out and, be away from the vehicle myself.
Mm-hmm.
But, here recently, like I said, it's been dark at 5 o'clock when I get off, and I won't stop activating because I'm addicted. And, I go and I'll do vehicle activations here. But, on the weekends and stuff like that, I don't want to be in my vehicle. I want, when it's more daylight, I want to be out there in the park. I can be close to my vehicle because I do like to run my Eagle One because, you can ask anybody that hunts me. There's not an activation that goes by that somebody's like, what antenna are you running? And there is no black voodoo magic to the Eagle One. It just performs. There's no balance. I don't have nothing hooked to it. It's just a wire going up a pole and it performs. But, I do like to get out and I like to hike, and I'll use the Eagle One or an infed or something. But it's getting colder, and I
Mm-hmm.
got to start thinking about stuff like that, like you know getting moisture in the radio. You start messing with getting wet on the inside of the radio, and you're messing with tuned circuits and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to mess stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your experience out in the cold with your radio.
That that is a good point with radios is you got to keep them protected a little more. Uh, and well for yourself as well. Especially if you're going to be hiking out a little ways, always make sure you take care of yourself. Uh, Dressing wet layers, wicking material, synthetics, that kind of stuff. And the same thing too is you got to keep your radios dry as well. Uh, I tend to keep mine in a hiking style stuff sack that's a little more protective to the water. So I wrap that and I place that inside my backpack when I hike out. Uh, a lot of the smaller stuff I make sure to keep in like a Ziploc bag, like a gallon size Ziploc bag. Sometimes I'll put that right over the radio when I'm operating. Keep because if you're on the ground and stuff, you kick it up snow and whatever, keep it down. Another thing that I do, and you'll see in a lot of my videos I use year round, is I'll carry a drop cloth that is just a simple piece of Tyvek's house wrap. I buy it by the roll at Menards or Home Depot or whatever. I buy it by the roll. I cut off like a 4 foot length of it. Folds up nice, weighs next to nothing. And summertime, especially in the wintertime, I'll lay that on the ground, put my pack on it. That helps keep some getting snow on everything, and keeps all your gear organized too. It's nice to have in the summertime too. You know, the ground tends to swallow up little connectors and stuff that go rolling around. So if you got a nice piece of Tyvek's down, it keeps everything in one place. So that's definitely a tip. And then, like you said too, for making sure to keep your equipment dry. When I bring stuff back, I make sure to lay everything out on a table. All my coax and everything, I lay that out. Make sure it dries out properly before I put it away, so there's no moisture getting in anywhere. Uh, Especially like the connector ends of your coax, they're just a magnet for snow to collect into if you drop it on the ground or anything. So it's always keep an eye on that kind of stuff as well.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because I was watching some of your videos where you had been out in the snow, and I noticed your little rollout pad there, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that. And I was like you said, it's nice for the summer too. And I was thinking I would have liked to had that with me when I got out and did my soda, because normally when
Mm-hmm.
I do parks on the air, I'm normally close enough to where I can just bring my little chair with me or something like that. But when I hiked up to the summit, I had all this gear and stuff. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
sitting on the ground, and you get 5,000 ants crawling over you that you're trying to knock off everything all the time. And I was like, why didn't I think of something like that? I
Yep.
did notice that on your screen. So keeping it dry, that's very important. What about well, first off, what's the coldest you've been out there and activated in so far?
Uh, far as being outside, away from the vehicle and everything, I tend to keep it pretty safe. I probably like the high teens, around 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Uh, again, wearing layers and everything. Uh, but operating out of my Jeep, I've gone actual temp. I think like 12 below zero, and then with the wind chills about uh wind chill wind chills were around 20 below. But that was basically just setting up my antenna and running the coax into the vehicle and everything. But
So have you ever been out there and had the like the digital screens and stuff like that start slowing down on you and they're reacting slower and stuff? I've heard people talk about it. I'm curious what kind of temperature we're talking when it starts doing stuff like that.
That I haven't really noticed, but again, I haven't really pushed it. I think trying to think, probably the one summits on the year I did, it was probably like 15, 17 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, I wasn't out very long, and I kept everything covered up pretty well. So I never noticed anything slowing down, but I didn't really push my luck. The longest I've been outside operating was probably winter field day last year. It was pretty mild too. It was probably right around 20 degrees, and I operated for probably about 4 or 5 hours. Uh, but I didn't have any real issues.
Right, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this show, because we do have Winter Field Day coming up, in
Hmm.
January, and like I said, when you activate POTA, quite a bit, and I'm sure you're the same way. You get a lot of activators who are used to hunting you, and they really, you build a bond with these guys, and here, where it's been colder lately, I get a lot of them that's been telling me, "Man, I'm gonna hate it when it gets too cold for you to go out," and I'm like, I don't plan on it getting too cold for me to go out,
Hmm.
but they're like, "Oh, it will," and which I've the month of February I'm going to be in Florida anyway, so it's definitely not going to be too cold in February for me. But
Right.
December and January it can get really cold, and as long
Hmm.
as I can keep my equipment safe, I I have sort of a survival background. I know how to keep myself safe in the outdoors, and we're going to talk about keeping yourself
Hmm.
safe as well on the show.
Absolutely, that's
But as
important.
but as long as I can keep my stuff safe, and I don't want to ruin my radio, of course. But
Hmm.
I plan on being out there all winter.
Yep.
So
The other thing we haven't touched on is probably the most thing that's temperature related would be your battery. Making sure you keep that somewhat warm. Uh, I know with my, excuse me here, I got my little QRP kit. For QRP, I got the little 5105 by Zagu. It has the internal battery. And this one has given me some troubles before where I have this in my pack where I don't get the battery life out there that I normally do. So if you have a small radio like this, if you can, I know a couple times I took it out and I'd wear, underneath my puff jacket, I'd have a hooded sweatshirt with a kangaroo pocket, and I just put that in here, so I keep that close to my body to get some warmth onto it. So if you have a small radio with a built-in battery like that, that's something to keep in mind. And the other thing is I don't have it right next to me, but I have like a BioWinnow, the 3 amp hour batteries. They're about that size. That's normally enough for an activation, maybe not, but one thing to keep in mind, say you bring a bigger battery, like one of these normally out, this will be a little bit more difficult to keep close to you. But if you have two of those smaller, like the 3 amp hour or 6 amp hour lithium ion or lithium phosphate batteries, you can keep those in close to you and operate off of one while you're keeping your backup battery still close to you, nice and warm. When that one will go dead, you can switch them. And then just like with your cell phone or your camera, the battery will go dead, but once you warm it up, it'll get a little more life to it. So you can put that battery that went dead into your pocket, warm it up, and you might get a little more life out of it later on if you need a reserve. So that's one
right,
little tip.
you definitely don't want to get your batteries too cold though. I mean,
Hmm.
because you can damage your batteries, and you can do they won't give you the charge they used to give you if you get them
Yep.
too cold, and they start to mess up. I seen a question in here.
Hmm.
Let me scroll back up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff wants to know if you use caps on your coax.
Uh, yeah, some. If I got something laying on my floor here, so where half my stuff goes. Yeah, some of the lengths of coax that came with these little caps, so I'll put those on when I'm carrying it out there and stuff. They pop off pretty quick, so
And the second part of his question, do you think they help in the winter type activations?
uh they can. I tend to keep everything rolled up and all cinched up like that, and I'm pretty careful of my setups as make sure to handle when you're running your coax and stuff to make sure you keep everything rolled up and not just throw it all out. So I try to keep it all on me, and I'll attach it to my antenna and then roll it out instead of just throwing it on the ground. You try to be a little more cautious of where you're throwing stuff when you got snow on the ground.
Right. All right. So got a lot of questions about the electronics and stuff to come, but
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about ourselves right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, you're going to dress warmer and stuff like that, but what kind of pro tips do you got, and what kind do you bring extra stuff in case something goes bad
Yeah,
when you go out and stuff like that? Tell us a little bit about that.
absolutely. Just your basic. If you live in the north, this is stuff you hear all the time. Keep extra clothes in your vehicle. I keep a wool blanket in both my Jeep and in the car that are in there all the time. Wool blankets are you can get them for next to nothing at an army surplus store or off of Amazon. They're cheap. They work well. Uh, you can go on all night about the benefits of wool, as far as keeping you warm when they're already wet and stuff. So I keep a wool blanket with me, warmer boots, uh, extra socks. A key thing, is being mindful, not pushing your limits. I'll just say, keep an eye on the weather to go out where you're comfortable with. Dress in layers. Follow the three W's for winter. No, I already forgot it. It's wicking, warmth, wicking, and wind protection. You want obviously stuff that'll keep you warm. Wicking to keep the moisture away from you from your perspiration and everything. So synthetics, wool again, fleece, and then like right now I got this soft shell fleece on. You need something that can block the wind, so you need some type of a hard shell on top of that. So pressing in layers works. Keeping your feet dry is key. Uh, for me, I learned many years ago. I typically drive 3 or 4 hours to get to a soda summit, and when I get there, uh, or first off, I'll drive with just like Crocs on or tennis shoes on, and switch my shoes into my hiking boots or my hiking shoes when I get there. So that way I don't have any of the moisture that I get for driving for 4 hours. And I'll even change the socks at that time too. So I got nice, clean, dry socks, dry boots. You hit the trail without any moisture on your feet. So that'll save you because for me, at least, my feet and my hands are the first thing that go cold. So keep those warm and don't push your limits when you start getting cold. Don't, go in and get warm or bring extra pair of gloves, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now on the gloves, because you got a log. Do you have any suggestions with what type of gloves are easy to keep your hands warm, but are
Mm-hmm.
easy to help you log your contacts? Because if you're getting a little pile up, you're trying to hurry and type, and if you got these big bulky gloves on,
Yep.
it's going to make it a lot worse. So
Yep.
you have any suggestions for that?
What I typically do is I have a tight fitting uh, or a smaller glove on, like the jersey gloves or a mechanic's gloves. And then I'll have good old fashioned big mittens that I'll put over them. And then when I'm doing my logging, I just have the one hand off and I'm doing my logging, and then I'll put the mitten back on when the pileup's done. In between, I'll wear, like you see the football players wear those little muffs that you can put your hands on both sides. I can't remember the name of the things, but I'll wear those because you can go pretty much barehanded for a while and just stick your hand inside that and warm it up. Put a couple of packs of hand warmers in there, and you got it going pretty good.
See
But yeah,
that.
that is the most difficult part is trying to do your logging and keeping your fingers warm because it's you hit the nail
Well,
right on the head. It's hard to work a pencil or a keyboard when you got big gloves on.
well, this is my thought on it, and because it's something that I do when I hunt, and I've got a pair of really nice hunting gloves, and they have like a fold back mitten part to where
Mm-hmm.
they're fingerless here, and you
Yep.
fold the mitten over, and I'll keep a hand warmer in that mitten part as well. But if there's if I think I'm going to be because I use a trigger on my bow. I don't use just a string. I use a trigger. So I got to have this one finger out at all
Mm-hmm.
times.
Yep.
And anytime. So that's what I figured I would use something like that. And but when I'm calling CQ or something, I'll slide the finger back in and use the hand warmer again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
that's my thoughts on that. Um, what about like extra stuff? Because I always have extra stuff with me because anything can happen at any time. I always have a
Yep.
little first aid kit with me if I'm going hiking and stuff like that. But in the winter, there's more stuff you got to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you take a fire kit with you?
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Year round. Don't have it here, but I got a similar roll up to the one that I had my QRP kit in that has basically your 10 essentials for hiking. And in that, I have a fire kit with multiple ways to start fire, some tinder. I got a couple of space blankets, so those will be handy. And that I also have extra gloves, an extra beanie to keep my bald head warm. And then also in the pack, I'll typically carry like those SOL brand bivy sacks, kind of the lightweight collapsible uh, or fold up sleeping bag, kind of a heavy duty mylar material, kind of a step up from a space blanket. So with my layers, a space blanket, and then that bivy sack would probably go a long ways into keeping me warm if things get really bad. Um, and bring a thermos of hot coffee or water with you. Get some hot liquids in you would be a good idea as well. So I typically would bring a thermos of coffee with just to warm up with.
Yeah, Plasma Storm said they also make touchscreen gloves. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
or you could use a stylus. And I never thought about the stylus. The stylus would probably work a little bit good for me. I don't. I've never really had much luck with the touchscreen gloves. They
Yeah,
don't.
they've been haven't had much luck with those either.
Okay, so we've touched a little bit on the radio equipment.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched about keeping ourselves warm, and we've touched a little bit about the extra stuff like survival stuff that we take.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something that I'm considering, and I don't know if you have any experience or if anybody in the chat has some experience, but because most of my activations, I don't get real far from my vehicle anyway. Now,
Right.
I do go out and I do a lot of hikes, and when I do summits on the air, yeah, I'm definitely away from the vehicle, and that's a different situation. But
Mm-hmm.
something I'm thinking about for you know just normal parks on the air activation because I like to stay within about 100 foot of my vehicle because
Yep.
I know everybody's heard me swear it a million times, but I love my Eagle One. It's my go-to antenna, and it gives me great. I get 5 nines from everybody, and so I love it. So something I'm thinking about is uh, like an insulated ice fishing tent. I've been looking at them, and they seem like they would be pretty good. Get one of those and get me a little like buddy heater.
Yep.
Set it up, set the buddy heater up. Get it a good temperature before I even pull the radio stuff out of the car in there,
Hmm.
and then I'm good for hours. I can stay out there, a good time because you can get them insulated tents. So I
Oh
hear
yeah, yeah,
really warm.
yeah.
Uh,
We use like I said, and when we're talking before the live stream, that I do a fair amount of ice fishing and that kind of stuff in the winter, and you can get some really nice portable uh, tent style fish shacks. Eskimo and Clam are kind of the two main brands. Some of them are built onto a plastic sled that the thing will fold down onto. That's made for putting your fishing gear. You put your ice auger, your tip ups, and all that stuff, and you can just drag it out by foot or behind a 4-wheeler or whatever. You can do that for your activations as well. You put your radio, some chairs, your little propane Mister Heater, and drag it out to where you want, and you just pull the thing right over you, and you're set up and ready to go. And it does not take much to keep those things warm, especially those little 1-man, 2-man insulated tents. Uh, you, I know most of the time when I'm out ice fishing with my dad and stuff, we don't even have the heater running most of the time. Just two people in there for their body heat. Once you get the heater on there to get the temps up, but most of the time we have the heater itself off and it's fine. So that would be a good way to go, protect you from the wind.
yeah, it's just something I'm thinking of because yeah, like I said, I do a lot of hiking and activating and stuff like that. But those would tend to be a lot, like you said, you don't push your limits, and those would tend to
Hmm.
be a lot shorter activations. And I like to
Yep.
spend a lot more time in the park, and that I've been researching this, for the last couple of weeks, and that's the way that I think I'm going to go for stuff like that. And of
Hmm.
course, for the hiking ones, I do it the old-fashioned way.
Yep. Yeah. I got a small 2-person. It's a 3-season ultralight hiking backpack uh, that I've brought out a few times, and I've set that up in the snow. I've winter camped in that, and that works all right. And something like that, or just your basic tarp, you set up as an A-frame, just to keep the wind off you. That'd be a huge thing. On a fairly mild day, if it's in the 20s or into the teens and stuff, you got a good breeze blowing. That'll suck the life right out of you. But if you set up just a nice break from the wind, this makes all the difference. I found too. So uh, last winter like I said, I did bring that tent with once or twice, and it wasn't too much of a pain to work out of. But yeah, definitely if you had the insulated fish shack style thing, you'd be set pretty good, very comfortable, especially for like a winter field day. I mean, you could go down to 0 or below with that without too much difficulty, I would say.
Yeah, that's definitely my plan. I want to get it soon because I want to get it. I want to get working in it because that'll probably be what I'll use during winter field day because
Hmm.
I'll be out there the whole time. I love field day and I like to get out there and make the contact. So uh, depending on what my club does, you know, I'm trying to talk them into making it in a park field
Hmm.
day.
Yep.
kill two birds with one stone for sure. Pat said buddy heaters work great. They're small and portable, and
Yep.
that's what I was looking at was the buddy heaters and stuff
Yep.
for it.
Yep. There were. Yeah, and I'm kind of glad to see Pat's in the chat because we were talking. He's lives not too far away from me. He has a cabin up by my place, and we're going to do some parks on the air activations near us in December here after Wisconsin deer season's over. So yeah, Pat, make sure you bring that buddy heater with. We'll
so
activate Amsterdam sloughs together.
so you mentioned a sled. Have you did any activations and stuff where you got to take a sled out and stuff like that?
Yeah, when I did the winter field day, I spent the night out on a backpacking spot, and to carry all, I didn't want to make 7 trips back and forth to the Jeep, so I had a tow behind sled where I carried most of my gear in. So just your cheap plastic sled that kids would use. So those work fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Just a regular old bobsled or whatever that the kids
Yep.
use. Okay.
Yep.
I never thought about that. I was thinking maybe a building one because I definitely want to. I want to go out and do at least one. I'm assuming we'll have a really good snow. We normally do, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to do one really good snowy activation, and I was thinking about that the sled thing.
Yep. Yeah, I use that for winter camping quite a bit. Cause like I said, I'll typically do a hammock camping, and with that, you got basically two sleeping bags. You got the underquilt and the overquilt, and I got quilts are rated down to 0 degrees, and they're nice and warm, but they're big and bulky, so they almost take up a whole backpack on their own. And then if you bring your cooking gear and some extra clothes, and then you throw in a radio and stuff, it'd be a couple trips. So the sled is very useful for that.
So what's the typical difference in weight in a summer pack for Scout and a winter pack for Scout?
It all just like most questions in ham radio, it depends. A simple day pack, I'm down around 5 pounds overnight. It can be up to 30 pounds. A weekend trip, 40 pounds, depending on the food. Wintertime, it pretty much doubles because I tend to bring a little bit too much stuff with me. But yeah, it all depends on what I'm doing, where I'm going, how long I'm going to be out.
All right. So you mentioned camping. So what's the coldest weather that you've been camping in?
I've camped. I spent overnight when it was 5 below 0 last winter. That's the closest I went. Uh, I didn't go very far. There's a campsite along the St. Croix River by me. Uh, yeah, a little backstory. I live in northern Wisconsin, right on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota, and uh, about a mile away from me is the St. Croix River, and there's a state forest on each side, and there's multiple campsites along it. There's sites that are access from the river only, and there's a few that are along a hiking trails and stuff. So there's a few places I camp. And that one time when it got about 5 below, I was about a mile from the house, so I wasn't too far away. So I didn't want to push anything. But yeah.
So do you have any tips for people? Extra stuff they need to think about when they're going to make their radio trip a camping trip winter wise?
Winter wise, it's just everything we talked about already. Just extended overnight. Uh, yeah. But the only thing I could probably think of is if you're gonna go overnight, keeping your batteries warm. You may want to bring something insulated to wrap them in. Like the soft-sided lunch boxes or something that are insulated. You can keep them in that to try to help retain the heat. I don't know.
That's that's probably a decent tip anyway.
Mhm.
Even if you're not camping, maybe
Yeah.
have one of those soft sided lunch boxes and keep
Mhm.
your battery in it. Just run your cord, down in, zip it all the way around except for where your cord comes out,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
that ain't a bad tip. Heck, you might even throw in if it's really cold, throw in a hand warmer in there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hmm. See there? Why I have you come on there. I'm learning stuff right on
Mhm.
the fly. I never even thought about it, a lunchbox like that. But yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really good tip because I mean they're not they're collapsible. They're not going to take up no room, and you just stick them in there and you're done.
Mhm. Yeah, we do that a lot for backpacking meals and stuff. Like your mountain house and everything, where you add the boiling water and you let it sit for 10 minutes. Well, when it's winter time, that all that heat dissipates quite quickly. So we'll put them into something insulated like that. I typically use that soft-sided lunchbox type thing, or some people will make wraps out of. No, I can't remember the name of the material. But that metallic wrap that you put around pipes and everything. Somebody in the chat will put it in there right about now and make me slap my head going, that's the stuff.
Of course, we got a time delay, but I bet you Smoking Ape has probably done answered you.
Yeah,
he seems to do that all the time.
He's a smart guy.
Hey, he is for sure, especially somebody from West Virginia. He tries to fool y'all saying he's from Nebraska, but I know where the Smoking Ape lives. I've been by his den before.
Uh-oh. Yep. You got it.
I figured he probably answered that a good bit ago.
He's probably screaming it at me.
But that's what I hate about these chats with the time delay. You sit and you wait, and then you're like, why are they answering it now? We didn't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what else do you do? Say now we're going to talk a little Winterfield Day. What do you do beforehand? Like when do you start getting ready for Winterfield Day?
Well, I don't have a lot of experience. This last Winterfield Day was my first one. But what I did is, again, I was camping on one of the backpacking sites near my place, and I cheated and went out there the day before and did a lot of prep work for the site, far as packing down the snow around the area that I'm going to work, setting up my hammock and stuff, and getting a lot of firewood prepped. That was key for me. I did the old fashioned, sit around a campfire the whole time. And with the short amount of daylight and being that I want to be playing radio most of the time and not splitting and stacking wood, I did all that the day before. So I got my site all set up for that. Radio wise, of course, is make sure that everything is good. All the coax is in good shape. Batteries are topped off. Everything's cleaned. Everything's packed away the way it should be.
Okay. So have you in your experience in using radio in the cold weather, have you had any issues radio wise where something acted different or off that you couldn't figure out what it was, or everything seemed to be the same?
Yeah, everything seemed to be the same for the most part.
I'm curious if anybody in the chat had any experience like what I was talking about earlier with the screens being slower and fogging up and getting condensation in the screens and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've had some condensation and stuff, and again, as far as the screens being slower and stuff, the radios I use are this X5105 by Xiegu, and then the Yaesu 891. So neither one of them have a active waterfall or anything, and so I can't really say if there's much of an effect on the display or anything, because I'm just basically looking at the frequency. But you'll get a little condensation and stuff. But again, like I said before, just make sure you dry everything out when you're done, and do the best you can to keep stuff dry when you're operating.
Roger that. And another thing you might want to think of is if you're using if you're using your vehicle and it's really cold outside and you're doing like a vehicle activation, is they make these little I don't know little containers, and you just pull the top off of it, and it's like a little dehumidifier, and that'll keep your vehicle from fogging up as bad and making it look like some fist fights going on in your vehicle, and keeping the park rangers from stopping so much and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody in the chat got any questions? They've been talking more. You mentioned hammocks, and they've been talking more about hammock camping than they have any cold weather stuff.
Oh yeah, well, that hammock camping's fun.
You ever just go out and do like a couple day trip and just hammock camp and do some like QRP radio or anything?
Yep, about once a year I go up on a trail called the Superior Hiking Trail. It starts in Duluth, Minnesota, and goes up to the Canadian border, follows the North Shore on the ridge there. And there's I lost track. There's quite a few state parks and soda summits on the trail, so you can bring a little QRP kit and have a blast on that. I'll typically go up there for a couple long weekends where I stay, 3 or 4 nights out on the trail.
Just trying to make sure there wasn't no questions out there. I'm not sure if that damp rid is what I'm. I've used it before, plasma, but I don't remember what it was called. I will try to pick up one, and I'll let you know for sure. I can't remember exactly what that's called. Do you know what that's called? The little containers that you use for the dehumidify things?
No, yeah. I have something similar that we put in the gun safe. It's a decascent material that turns purple when it's full of water, and you just sprinkle it out on the cookie sheet and dry it out in the oven and reuse it. But I can't remember what it's called.
Everybody's throwing different names out in the chat. All right. Well, listen, guys. I did keep Scout up past his bedtime.
Yeah, that's all right. It's fun. Thank you for having me on, man.
And I'm not gonna keep him on here all night, like, because sometimes we'll sit here all night and talk. But what you got coming up on your channel?
Oh, I got, I think, 4 videos in the pipeline that I'm going to have dropping once a week here. There's a couple of parks on the air activations, a few parks and summits, a little QRP work coming up next time. The week after that, you'll see my friend Kyle do his very first Parks on the Air pile up. A few of us met a few weeks ago over in Minnesota, and we did a Parks on the Air activation. It was on that weekend with that was it the CQDX weekend or whatever it was.
Okay.
And it was fun because we got there and I was just hunting and pouncing on the pileups on 20 meters, and I activated the park with nothing but European stations. It was all DX, so that was kind of cool. But of course, you're shoulder to shoulder on 20 meters that day with everybody on that contest.
Yeah.
So my friend Kyle says, well, let's go on 17 meters. And he went and he brought a spool of fencing wire with, and he did all the work. He cut a 17-meter dipole right there on the spot. We threw up in the tree, and he started calling CQ, and he had a nice little pile up going and had a blast. So that'll be a video coming up. And then now it's starting to get into my summits on the air season. Like I mentioned before, I tend to do most of that in the wintertime around here so I can get the bonus points. So there'll be some summits on the air videos coming out, whatever else I could think of. But I got about 4 or 5 in the pipeline right now, so they'll be coming out pretty steady from now on.
That's awesome. And it's funny that you mentioned Parks on the Air pile-ups, because I tried to work on 40 this evening and it wasn't working, so I went over to 80. And I always hate going to 80 because you always are risking, getting the grumpy old man that's going to come on there and cuss you out because you're calling CQ on his frequency that he is on every single night of his life.
Yep.
But I got done activating tonight, and evidently there was a guy that was just waiting for me to be done. And, I told everybody I was going QRT, and I was sort of just putting some stuff up, and the radio was still on, and I heard a guy come on there, and he's like, "The frequency is now for regular amateur use," and he started talking to another guy, and he's like, "Man, I'll tell you what, I don't know what that contester was doing, but he said, I didn't realize there was that many people in ham radio. Said they just called him and called him and called him." Which I did have like 100 and some contacts,
Yeah.
but evidently he just sat there and listened to everybody calling me and never butted in. So hats off to him.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming up on my channel, I guess I will put it out tomorrow. It's been released for my Patreons for about a week now. But it's a something that every portable ham radio operator needs, and I'm not even going to tell you what it is because it gives away the video.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
Really short video. It's only about 7 minutes long. So I'm gonna put that out tomorrow, and I have my kilo activation that I'm steadily editing on from Laurel Lake Wildlife Management, and then
Awesome.
Saturday, I hope to be out filming my last park in West Virginia to wrap up every park in West Virginia. So lots of cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, live stream that one.
You know, I really want to, but I don't know what the signal is going to be like up there. You know, so
yeah,
I'm not going to say it's not a possibility because it is. If I get up there and I feel like it'll go through good, but you know, I'm not going to mess up this activation with having to fool with the computer every 5 minutes either. So
yeah, that's true.
But I promise you
That'd be fun to
guys,
see.
I promise you guys, it's going to be a really cool video because I'm going to do it from the overlook, and you're going to be able to see 5 counties in 2 different states from this overlook. So it's going to be a really great view. And West Virginia, and this time of year, you're going to see a lot of colors in those leaves too. So be a great activation. But I appreciate you guys. Hope you smash the like button. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to be really interactive with me, catch a lot of updates and stuff like that, check out my Patreon. You know, you spend more on buying a soda every day than it costs you to do Patreon. So I'm not telling you got to, but it's worth it. I promise.
Oh, wow. You just, sorry to interrupt, but I just saw Anime's small plug. She's going to be on Random Thoughts podcast coming up.
That will be awesome. I will definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know, Anime, and thanks for everybody tuning in. Cool. 73, guys.
Yeah, thanks.